two-part question. What is your stance on the Shuster Siegel lawsuit revolving around the rights and property of Superman, and does the theory of slack from the church go against the acquisition of collectibles, or is it justified if that type of acquisition brings happiness and nostalgia? P.S. I am the guy in the glasses and pie shirt in the room.
Do you want to repeat the question before I answer? Or should I summarize the question as I answer?
Well, I think this is a multi-parter.
Well, I haven't followed it closely enough to know. I'm surprised if that lawsuit still exists. But, you know, it probably should, because you have these two guys in New York who create Superman, the most popular comic character ever, and are paid $100 by DC Comics and told, okay, get out of here, you know. When they came up with it, they should have benefited from it. And finally, years later, DC gave them or their heirs some big chunk of change. But on the other hand, you know, this is the classic story of the exploitation of the little guy by the cigar-chewing money men. The novel The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, you may be familiar with, is somewhat about this. If the suit still exists, I think DC, particularly with the recent movies, can afford to give the heirs some recognition for what they did. Now, the other part of this question was, does collecting objects attract, and does it increase slack or detract from it? There's a way in which it might detract from it. In order to lie down and sleep at night, I have to move hundreds of pounds of books and plastic dinosaurs off my bed. But to pass that, in many subgenius households, you see what we call slack altars, where there are these large collections of things from, you know, salvaged from the pop culture underground. And that's one sign of a potential subgenius, that there will be these slack altars, which can threaten to take over the living space. But they have a great use if these forms, these shapes and objects can stimulate the original thoughts which they produced. And in most cases, they absolutely can. I'm very happy to look at my large collection of prehistoric miniatures because they can be viewed in different dimensions and they stimulate the thought on the subject. That's just where I am, but other people collect Speedy Alka-Seltzer statues, Bosco statues, or whatever. There's a popular culture produced enormous layers of things, and they each has a symbolic meaning, perhaps not originally intended by the manufacturer or the originator. Art is synthesis and creates out of fusion of these things, of what it is given. You know, the old masters were only given religious subjects to come up with their paintings, but in our world of media of all different directions and types, we have a greater opportunity to create new things, and it's something which we should embrace rather than throw up our hands in despair. The old can always be made new again. What it needs is energy and creative vision.